over 19 years, your eyes and ears on horse racing has been Tommy Walski's The Sport of King. On today's show, we'll find out how a successful trainer makes his barn tick. Our race of the week is the Emerald Downs. Tommy recaps some of the major stakes in racing across the nation. Virginia gets you caught up in all the news. We'll hit the archives in case you missed it. Our salute to the champion. Remember, one of racing's equine heroes. And now here he is, BC's ambassador to the world of horse racing, Mr. Tommy Walski.
We open up today's program with an interesting and informative look at one of the top trainers here at Hastings Racecourse, who started out as a small trainer with only a few horses and now has one of the largest stables here at Hastings Racecourse. We're talking about trainer Dino Condilenios, and here's Dino's story.
I actually got my trainer's license when I was about, I'm going to say 21 or 22 years old. I was helping Dale Bingham and Wayne McGilvery, and my dad owned a couple of horses. Wayne was the one who sort of pushed me to get my license. Started a stable. I think I had two of my dad's horses, and then I had a couple of outside horses. A friend of my dad's gave me a couple of horses at the time. I won 2 of my first 5 starts. So, at that point I thought it was, going to be easy. This is easy. And then I think I went on to about have something like 30 starts without winning a race. So I won 2 of my first 5 and then didn't win a race until later on in the season. But yeah, it was tough. I had a lot, 4 or 5 really cheap horses, and I got lucky and ran out their conditions kind of early, which was why I won a couple of races early.
What are the obstacles with a small stable?
It all depends. I mean, it's obviously tough to make a living because, unless you have a really good, like a stake horse or something, you're not, you're not making a lot of money. But basically, you're just kind of, everybody does it just to kind of catch that break, right? Get that person that's going to give you some better horses, which eventually did happen for me. But it's tough. I'm telling you. I was good thing I was sort of living at home when I was in my late teens, early 20s. So it kind of it would have been tough. I had a night job. I used to waiter at night.
Oh, you did?
I did at the time. Yeah, my parents owned a restaurant, so I waitered at night, and that's sort of how I made my living at the time. It definitely wasn't from training horses for the.
Right now you're training for one big outfit. How did that come about?
I actually started training for Swift Thoroughbreds in 2001, I believe. But I had a lot of clients at the time. I probably had 50 to 60 horses at the time. And then about 2003 or 4, I don't remember, they approached me about going private and training only for them. And at first, said no.
That's a big decision.
It was. I mean, from a financial standpoint, it was a no-brainer. I should have, most people would have. But a lot of people had been with me for years, and they were very loyal to me, and I'm a very loyal type of person. So it was really hard for me to turn it, to turn it down. But then the Kemeneys and the Mechets are just such great people, nicest people you're ever going to find. And talked to Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, and I remember at the time Bob Leffler and his wife Linda and a few others, and they all said, you're crazy not to do this. I think trainer-owner communication is the one of the key elements of being successful. You have to talk things over. You have to, you need their input, and because you don't want to be on different sides of the fence. You all want to be on the same playing field and agreeing with what's going on. If you're not, then it's too much friction there, right? So you want all the decisions to be, talked over and discussed. And when I was a public trainer, I remember there were certain people that I worked for that used to say, here's some money, just go buy me some horses, and don't bother me. Just like basically, I won't bother you, and you don't bother me. Just tell me when my horse is running, right? And that's okay too, but. I like the communication part of it. I think that's one part of my job I really enjoy. I like, I'm a very social type of person, and I like meeting people, and I like people's input. You can never stop learning. So they people can teach you stuff, we discuss everything. Like even when I was public or private, it was the same for me.
Looks like most of your outfit is girls.
I do, and to some extent, it's by choice. I just find girls really like horses, more than men do in general. And the one thing I really believe in training horses is for horses to be happy. I think if they're happy, they'll do well, and they'll do well for you. and they're better caretakers when it comes to horses. You know, with men, I find it to be a little more. It's a job. I'm not saying all men. There's some really. I've got a couple of guys that are great, but I mean, but I just find the girls tend to they just love horses and they spoil them and everything else, and that's sort of the way I like my barn run.
What are you particularly looking for when you're hiring a groom, say?
Someone that is willing to do things the way I want it done, number one, and number two, you know, that they're reliable and easy to get along with. I mean, you just as long as they show up every day and they work hard and they try, you know, you can't really ask for too much more, and they're willing to learn and do things. 'Cause like I said, we're all, you know, trainers do things differently. Everybody has different ideas and different things, and sometimes a groom might have their own ideas about things, but I think that the best type of person to work for you is someone that's willing to do things exactly the way you want it done.
Dino, you back and forth from your barn to the racetrack, you're all over. Any special reason why you put so much miles on?
I like to walk back and forth with my horses because I like to, number one, talk to my exercise riders when they get off, as they're coming off the racetrack, because usually that horse is fresh on their mind, so they can talk to me about that particular horse. And number two, leading them onto the track, a lot of times the rider needs to get tied on. So it's tied on, when I mean tied on is, you know, tie their knot and adjust their stirrups and that sort of thing. So I've had some really nice horses over the years. I've been fortunate enough that people have supplied me with some pretty nice horses. Tatey's a great horse, and you know, but the one thing Lord Nelson had for sure, and I hope Tatey follows in his footsteps, but he was so good for so long, so many years, and that's hard to duplicate. Like, you very rarely see a horse run for 5 or 6. He was, I mean, older horse of the year 4 years in a row, I think, here, and you know, and close to being horse of the year, you know, a couple other seasons as well. Now, raw talent, yeah, this horse, Tatey's probably as good as Lord Nelson, if not better, for sure. He's pretty special, and you know, but I've had some like almost times in the barn. He's a really nice horse. I had Queen of My Nights. I've had Beautiful Stranger. 5 Point Star was a really good horse. You know, and I've had a lot of stakes, horses that have won a couple of stakes here and there too. So, I've been pretty lucky. I've had a lot of nice horses over the years.
Don't go away. The Sport of Kings. We'll be right back. And now to get you up to date with what's happening in and around the track, let's saddle up with our own Virginia Tulloch.
Sunday, May 23rd was named Community Day by Hastings Racecourse in honor of the New Stride Foundation. New Stride, a nonprofit organization benefiting retired racehorses, hosted a luncheon that was enjoyed by all in attendance. Congratulations to trainer Frank Barroby for his recent induction into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. Frank is the first trainer based at Hastings to receive such a prestigious honor.
Felt super, and I still didn't believe it there for a couple of days because, you know, I really didn't think I'd make it. I knew it was nice to be nominated, but to get in, it feels great. It really does.
Friday night kicked off the first of 4 days of back-to-back races over the Victoria long weekend. We wanted to know what sort of challenges go along with coordinating such an event. To answer that question, we spoke to Director of Racing, Paul Reineveld.
Part of the challenge is that you have so many horses that are ready to run at this point in time in the season, and as you add days, you have to add categories, and you spread the horse population out over those categories. So we took entries. We tried to take it a little conservatively and ran the 7 race cards for the 2 Fridays, but in the end we do take about 500 horses that are available to us, and now we're spreading them out over 2 weeks, and where typically we had about 180 running on a weekend, now we're looking to have 250 or so, and it does start to spread things a little thin, and you do get some of the 5 and 6 horse fields as a result.
Last year's BC Derby winning trainer Doris Harwood returned to Hastings from her Emerald Down stable to run Night Raider in Monday's Emerald Down Stakes. We asked Doris about her newest stakes horse and about her trip north.
You know, we're delighted to be here. I love this track. Our series from this point on down at Emeralds, the horses, all the fillies run further. There's no more sprinting. So we go from a mile up to a mile and an eighth and back to a mile in the last race of the year. So this race for me will help her kind of catch up with the other fillies, and she'll have her second out, and then we'll be ready for our race series down there. So we're just delighted to be here and hope we take enough money home to pay for our expenses and have a good time.
That's all the news for today. From the trackside at Hastings Racecourse, I'm Virginia Tellick, and now you're back on track.
Racing across the nation, where we follow all the top stakes races throughout North America. Racing Across the Nation is brought to you in memory of Jeff Robinson, owner and breeder at Erin Acres.
Now, as far as our Racing Across the Nation part of the program, we're going to mix it up a little. With the Belmont Stakes coming up, we decided to show you two races that to truly understand what the Belmont is all about, it is these two races. One is Secretariat's 1973 31-length victory and the gut-checking performance done by Affirmed Alidar in the 1978 Belmont. Here it is. If you want to see two good races, stay tuned.
Running on the turn now. For the turn of Secretariat. It looks like he's opening. Running is increasing. It's at 3.5. He's going into the turn. Secretariat holding on to a large lead. Turn is coming, and then it's a long way back to Mark Allen and twice the foot. They're on the turn. Secretariat is closing around. The first three turns are now rolling around in front of us. Secretariat is widening now. He is getting like a tremendous machine. Secretariat by 12. Secretariat by 13 lengths on the turn. Turn is dropping back. It looks like they'll take him today. As Mike Allen is going to take, they're both coming up to him now. The Secretariat is all alone. He's out there almost a 16th of a mile away from the rest of the houses. Secretariat is in a position that he's been happy with that. He's under the step. Secretariat leads his field by 18 lengths. And now Consequence is taking second, and Mark Allen is moving down to third. They're in the step. Secretariat has opened a 17-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner. Here comes Secretariat to the ladder. An unbelievable, an amazing performance. He hits the base. 35 lengths from back. It's open Consequence second. Mark Allen third.
Three quarters, however, went in 1:14. The pace is still slow. They're moving into the turn. Affirmed holding ahead in front, and Alidar on the outside is challenging again. It's Affirmed by ahead on the turn. Alidar is second by 4.5. Along the inside, Judge Advocate, Noontime Spender, and Darby Creek Road now beginning to pick up the pace. Three quarters went in 14, a mile in 37 and 2. The pace is increasing as they come to the head of the stretch. It is still Affirmed as they come to the quarter pole. He's holding on to a head lead. Alidar is outside of him and challenging that lead. The two are heads apart, and Alidar's got a lead. Alidar put ahead in front, right in the middle of the stretch. It's Alidar and Affirmed battling back along the inside. We'll test these two to the wire. Affirmed under a left-hand whip. Alidar on the outside driving. Affirmed and Alidar heads apart. Affirmed's got a nose in front as they come onto the wire.
Now here's the part of the show we simply call In Case You Miss It. It's a chance for you to look back at the magic and the mystery of horse racing here in British Columbia from the Sport of Kings perspective. In case you missed it. Today on In Case You Missed It part of the program, we're going to be featuring April Friesen, one of the most popular riders here at Hastings Racecourse, who last week was injured in a horse racing spill. Now we shot this piece a couple of years ago, but with April being in the hospital at Vancouver General Hospital, this is our get well wishes from her many friends, in case you missed it.
It's been a dream of mine since I was probably about 6 years old. Told Mom and Dad I wanted to be a jockey. My grandfather was into horses hugely and got me into pony racing originally in Chilliwack. And from there, I went to Kamloops and went to the track and just said I wanted